Hare Krishna, everybody. Haribol, Haribol. Welcome to our 24th day of our Vraja-mandala Parikrama. Today we have a big day, a long day. We're out traveling and we'll be visiting basically Nandagaon. Nandagaon has many tirthas and holy places. So we'll be touring around in Nandagaon, and on the way back we'll come to Sanket at the very end. But first we'll have our kirtan.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyatisharine Namna Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashtaya Bhutale Shri Bhakti Pragyana Keshavayati Namine Namna Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radha Sri Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Muninda Vandite Triloka Shoka Harini Prasanna Vakra Panga Jani Kunja Bhuvilasini Rajendra Bhanu Nandini Rajendra Sona Sanjate Jagakarishya Siyama Pripaka Taksha Bhajanam Ashoka Vriksha Vallari Vitana Manda Pasite Prabhala Vala Vallava Prabhalu Nandli Komale Karabhaya Spurat Kare Prabhuta Samparalaye Kada Karishya Siyama Kripaka Takshava Bhajanam Ananda Mangala Prasanga Mangura Bhuvam Savibramam Sambramam Vriganta Manapatanai Nirantaram Vashikrita Pradipti Nandanandane Yada Karishya Simamam कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं तदित् सुवर्णचम्पका प्रदीप्त गौरविग्रहे मुखाप्रभापरास्तकोटिशारदेन्दुमण्डले विचित्र चित्र संचरच्चकोलचावलोचने कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं यौवने प्रमोदमानमण्डिते प्रियानुरागरञ्जिते कलाविलासपण्डिते अनन्यगण्यकुञ्जराज्यकामकेलकोविते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं शेषभावभावलीरहीरहारभूषिते प्रभूतशातकुम्भकुम्भकुम्भिकुम्भसुस्तनि प्रशासनन्दहस्य चूर्णपूर्णशोक्यसागरे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं बालवल्लरी तरङ्गरङ्गदोलते रक्ताग्रलस्य लोलनीललोचनावलोकने ललाललान्विलम्बनोगमुग्धमोहनाश्रिते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं लिङ्गंशिता त्रिरेककम्बुकण्ठके त्रिसूत्रमङ्गलीगुणा त्रिरत्नदीप्तिदीप्ति सलोलनीलकुन्तला प्रसूनगुचकम्पिते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं कलम्बमलपुष्पमेकलागुणे प्रशास्वरात्मकिङ्किणि कलापमध्यमङ्गले करीन्द्रसुन्दराम्बिका परोहसोभगौरते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं नादमञ्जुलोपरारभास्करं समाजराजहंसवंशनिप्रणतिदौलवे विलोलहेमवल्लरी विजम्बिचारुचन्द्रमे कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष विष्णुलोकनम्रपद्मजातिते हिमाद्रिजा उलोमजा विरिञ्चजा परम्परे अपारसिद्धिर्विदिक्तसत्पदङ्गुलीनते कदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं Swari, Swari, Sureश्वरी विवेकभारतीश्वरी प्रमाणशासनेश्वरी रामेश्वरी क्षमेश्वरी प्रमोदकाननेश्वरी प्रजादिते श्रीराधिके नमोऽस्तुते ममभूतं स्ववा निशम्यमानुनन्दिनी करोतु सन्ततं जनं कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं भवेत्तदैव संचिता त्रिरूपकामनाशनं भवेत्तदामङ्गलप्रवेशनं यदा करिष्यसि मां कृपाकटाक्ष भजनं सुचारुवक्त्रमण्डलं सुकर्णरत्नकुण्डलं सुचाचितङ्गचन्दनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं Dirganetra pankajam Sikandamurdajam Ananda Gopastami Namami Nandanandanam Nasikadramuktikam Swachandadanta Pantikam Navambudanga Chitanam Namami Nandanam Tareno Vena Ranjitam Jati Kirandaganjitam Pura Pita Shobhanam Namami Nandanam Deha Sundara Makaduti Sudakaram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanam Sugandha Anga Saurabam Guru Virajitosrutam Gurajrivatsaranjanam Namami Nandanam Vrindavana Sunadaram Vilasanudavasasam Surendra Gargamoshanam Namami Nandanam Prajangana Sunayakam Pradasuta Pradayakam Pradhatana Prayotanam Namami Nandanam Nandanastakam Pratedya Shradhayandita Taredvara Industaram Labetadam Viyutakam Namami Nandanam Namami Nandanam Namami Nandanam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo
Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Vargya ki jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sarasi Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sarasi Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sarasi Srimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sarasi Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Acharya ki jai. Jai Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya ki jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haras Thakur ki jai. Prem Sri Gosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Jamuna ki jai. Brihat Mridanga ki jai. Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Nam Bhajan ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra ki jai. Nishingadev Bhagavan ki jai. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Purnamasi Dev Yoga Maya Maharani ki jai. Antadvip Maya Posim Antadvip Godamdip Madhyadvip Koladip Richadip Janadip Modamdip Rudadip Atmakanavadip Dham ki jai. Bandiravan, Badravan, Belvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala ki jai. Urja Vrat ki jai. Damodar Vrat ki jai. Chatumasya Vrat ki jai. Kartik Maina ki jai. Gopastami ki jai. Gadadha Das Tirobhav ki jai. Dhananjaya Pandit Tirobhav ki jai. Srinivasacharya Tirobhav ki jai. Anantakota Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaudachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vartino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Dikatam Vasadipita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Mayitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanaravindam Vajami Radam Aravinda Netram Smarami Radam Madhurasmitasyam Vadami Radam Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najiva Mitvaivina Iti Vignaya Rate Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. And first of all, offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, my Dandavat pranams, and all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So today, again, every single day of Kartik is a special day. Kartik month itself is so potent, and it's packed with potent extras, we can say. So today is Gopastami. So before we go on our bus journey to Nandagaon, we will honor the cows. Again, this is the second Gopastami. The first Gopastami is when Krishna is in Balya Lila, and he's about 5 years old, and he's twisted his mother's arm determinedly to be allowed to take the calves out grazing. His mother was adamant, no, definitely you cannot go out in that deep dark forest with all the demons without our guards and dozens of elder gopas. But Krishna was so insistent, they convened a meeting with Upananda, Abhinanda, Nanda, Sunanda, and Nanda, and they decided, all right, Krishna can go out when he's 5. But of course now he's 6. Now this Gopastami we're celebrating today is when Krishna comes into his Poganda age. So we should just appreciate for a moment this cusp is when he comes out of the Brahma Vimohan Lila pastime. That last year in his Komara age, in his Balya Lila, then he's in the Brahma Vimohan Lila year when he's expanding all of his Vishnu Murti forms as his cowherd boys. But now on this day, all the cowherd boys have returned, and this is the first day when they're taking out the cows. So this is a big upgrade from calves to cows. So it's very exceptional day for all the Brijbasis, because everything Krishna does is a celebration for all the Brijbasis. Everything has to be celebrated. So Krishna again is prominently honored, etc., with all the sakhas. They leave for the pasturing grounds and they're honored every step of the way by all the different families coming out offering trays of banana and fused rice, etc., and their blessings to Krishna for his safety in the forest with all the cows. Big responsibility. So very beautiful pastime, Gopastami today. So this is the second Gopastami. So always appreciate there are 2. There's one with the calves and one with the cows, and they both happen in this month of Kartik around the same time. Also today, it's the disappearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. Sorry, Gadadhar Das. Don't get confused between Gadadhar Pandit, who is non-different to Srimati Radhika, and Gadadhar Das, who's been described as something of the effulgence of Sri Radhika. Gadadhar Das, in his apricot personality, is called Chandra Kanti Gopi, or Chandra Kanti Devi, a Gopi. And he's also called Purananda Gopi. Purananda Gopi is a Gopi of Baladev Prabhu. So Gadadhar Das is one of the principal followers of Nityananda, but at the same time, he's a total follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has his Shripat down towards Calcutta. You can go today. And in his place, it's near Kandahar, a couple of miles, maybe 10 miles south of Kandahar. And in that place of Gadadhar, there's a very large museum today. And you can go and you can see many authentic Vaishnava texts from many, many hundreds of years ago. And they have many objects on display in that. It's like a museum practically. It's a very beautiful place. But Gadadhar was an exceptional soul. He, I can't remember clearly the story. Huh? Yes, that's one pastime, yes. So he was like a fearless bhakta, and he wanted everyone to chant Hare Krishna. So one day he came into the Qazi's palace. Qazi was a very, very evil man, very sinful man, would kill Vaishnavas regularly. But he was fearless, and he walked in and he demanded that the Qazi chant Hare Krishna. And the Qazi understood, oh, Gadadhar is a very simple man, and he was just like humoring him more or less. And he said, yes, tomorrow I will chant Hari. I will chant the name of your Hari tomorrow. And Gadadhar began to dance ecstatically. Oh, you've already chanted, you've already chanted, you've already chanted. So Gadadhar was very happy. But this is his nature, completely fearless, like an avadut type of a personality, like Nityananda. He would travel with the Nityananda Vadasa Gopals, but he would always put a pot of like makhan on his head, like a yogurt pot on his head, and be walking more like a female than like a male, because actually his internal identity was that of a female, but attracted to Baladev. So this is Gadadhar. Today we're celebrating his Tirubhav. I'm just going very, very briefly, because we have a huge journey in front of us with so many places. I don't think we'll ever get through them today, but we'll try. So Gadadhar Das are we celebrating? We're celebrating Dhananjaya Pandit. Dhananjaya Pandit has his Sripat quite close to Navadvip. It's a few miles north of Navadvip. And he is also a Dwadasa Gopal. In his uppercut identity, he's Vasudam Saka, one of the Dwadasa Gopals. He's the, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth. He's the sixth Dwadasa Gopal. So this is Dhananjaya, who's a great liberated personality and eternal associate of Nityananda Prabhu. And also it's the disappearance day of Srinivasacharya. Srinivasacharya's parents desired a son, and Mahaprabhu, he blessed them, you will have a most glorious son. And that son was Srinivasacharya. And Srinivasacharya did so much extensive preaching all over India. He comes from the Risen area, but then he came to Vrindavan. His direct guru is Gopal Bhatta Goswami, but his Shiksha guru is Jiva Goswami, where he spent most of his time with Jiva Goswami in the company of Shyamananda and Narottam Das. The three of them were together. So there's the famous story of the three of them carrying the books across to Bengal, where they get robbed, and Virahambira, this king. And then after the books have been stolen, Shyamananda goes into preaching in Orissa, and Narottam goes into Bengal, but Srinivas, he remains there. And eventually the books are returned to him because he remains in the palace of the king who stole the books. And there's a long pastime there. But basically, Srinivasacharya, he initiates all of the people in the palace, including the king and the queen. And Srinivasacharya, very powerful personality. And he preaches extensively throughout Orissa and Bengal. So these are some of the stalwart personalities. This is like Srinivas is in the generation after Mahaprabhu. You have up until Krishnadas Kaviraj, basically, they are all contemporaries practically. But then Srinivas, he comes after that. Srinivas, he tried to get darshan of so many of these personalities, and he failed to get darshan of Mahaprabhu. He fails to get darshan of Swarup Damodar. He does get darshan of Gadadhar Pandit, just briefly, and then he goes away to copy another manuscript of Srimad Bhagavatam, but returns and Gadadhar is left also. So all these pastimes you can all read yourself today, but we just have to mention their names and honor those personalities in our Katha today. So we're celebrating Gadadhar Das and Dhananjaya Pandit and Srinivasacharya today, and Gopastami. So that's a very brief overview. And now we're going to climb on our buses and we're going to head off from Govardhan. We're camping in Govardhan. And now we're going to go on the road directly to Varshana, which is like through the center here to Varshana. Previously, we went to Dig and to reach Kamyavan. The other day, we went up this way. Previously, we've gone to Shirgat, where Krishna stole the gopis' clothes. We've been to these forests on the other side of Jamuna also. So we've been in Talvan, we've been down below here, Talvan, Kamudvan, Madhuvan, and Bahulavan. We've traveled in here. Now we're coming straight up the center of Braj to Varshana. Then we're going through Varshana, and we're going to reach where the end of this stick is in Nandagaon. And on the way through is Sanket, which we will come to on the way back. So today we're coming here to Nandagaon. Okay, Nandagaon. That's where we are going today. So Nandagaon has its name from Nandishwara. Mahadev wanted to render service to Krishna in Braj, a personal service, and he requested Krishna, please give me some seva. So Krishna ordered him, you take your form, birth, as the hill in Nandagaon. So this is Nandishwara, the hill. Lord Brahma, the four hills of Varshana are the four heads of Lord Brahma. So this is Lord Shiva's place, actually, this Nandishwara. And when we come up into the Nanda Bhavan, the principal temple here today, we'll see a beautiful lingam of Nandishwar. So this is where the name Nandishwar comes from, is Shivji. So this is the personality Shivji. So now we come into Nandagaon, and the first place we're going to go is Terakadamba. Terakadamba is just a little bit out south west of Nandagaon itself, and we'll come here first. And this Terakadamba, originally there was a huge Kadamba tree here, and Krishna would climb that tree and he would play his flute and he would call. Tera means to call, calling. He would call all the cows back to gather them in order to come back into Nandagaon itself, into the village of Nandagaon. So he would have a jeweled counting beads, and he would count. We described the other day the 108 different types of cows. So on his string of 108 jewels, he would count all the cows very carefully. And if a single cow was absent, then he would play just the name of that particular cow. So all the cows would gather by the sound of Krishna's flute. And also all the gopis would gather by the sound of Krishna's flute. Krishna would also climb on this same kadamba and he would call the gopis for the different Ras Leela pastimes throughout the year that Krishna performed. So this kadamba, my Gurudev has planted another kadamba there. The original kadamba has left this world, but a seed from that kadamba has been planted there, and now it's quite large. That kadamba is growing very nicely. It's on a big platform. But right beside this kadamba, there is the sitting place of Rupa Goswami. Whenever we think of Terkadamba, we always remember Rupa Goswami. It's his bhajan kutia. This is where Rupa Goswami would perform his bhajan. And there's a very nice kund here. And it's described that when he would write his wonderful scriptures about separation mood, viraha, all the leaves would drop off the branches of the trees. And when he would write about milan, the union, then all the leaves would sprout on the trees very beautifully. So we remember with great happiness Rupa Goswami's time here in this. Rupa Goswami, of course, would travel to many different places in Braj. Rupa Goswami lived in Braj for almost 50 years. 50 years. He came in 1516 after he'd met Mahaprabhu in Prayag. He met first Mahaprabhu in Ramkeli in 1515, and then in 1516 he meets Mahaprabhu in Prayag at the Dashrameda Ghat, and then he goes straight to Vrindavan from there. And then that same year later on, he comes back to Puri for about 8 months, 9 months, and then again he's ordered to come back to Vrindavan. And then he remains in Vrindavan for practically 50 years. He leaves this world in 1570, I think it was, something like that, 1570. So he would travel he would reside in many, many places, but principally Terkadamba was an exceptional place. So always here, we hear the speciality and glories of Rupa Goswami Pad. And we hear the wonderful pastime of when his elder brother Sanatan Goswami would come here regularly, because Sanatan Goswami had a bhajan kutia in Pavan Sarovar. Pavan Sarovar is perhaps 3 miles, 2.5 miles from Terkadamba. So sometimes Sanatan Goswami would come here to Terkadamba and visit with Rupa Goswami. And there was a time described when they were very animated in their Harikatha with each other. And suddenly Rupa Goswami was thinking, I want to give my brother some prasad, but I don't have anything here to actually give him. And then one Kishori suddenly appeared, and she had some sugar and rice and milk, and she said, oh, here's, my mother has sent me, you please make yourself some kheer. And then she left. But then Rupa and Sanatan became more and more engaged in their conversation, and again they forgot to actually cook. So the Lali came back, and then she herself cooked. And my Gurudev described she collected some dry wood, and then she just blew on it, and it came into a fire. And she cooked the sweet rice there. And then she gave to Rupa Goswami, said, you please offer this. Now I have to rush back. My mother will be calling me. But then when Rupa and Sanatan tasted this sweet rice, they immediately were transported straight to the spiritual world. And then Sanatan Goswami, he chastises Rupa Goswami. Why did you call that Lali to come and make for us? This Lali was none other than Sri Radhika herself, was coming to cook for us. So the Goswamis, they had had this kind of experiences previously also, where Sanatan Goswami, he saw Radharani holding her sari to shade Raghunath Das. So they knew the moods of Radha and Krishna and how affectionate they were to them. So when they tasted this incredible sweet rice, they were transported into the spiritual world. But here, Rupa Goswami is described as doing many of his writings, but he would write wherever he went. Wherever he went, he would carry his papers and ink and so his parchments and ink, and Jiva Goswami would travel with him many times and assist him doing like this. So we hear the glories of Rupa Goswami, but today we have such a long parikrama, so we're not going to linger in Terakadamba for very long. We're just going to appreciate. This is the sitting place and bhajan kutia of Rupa Goswami. So we're just going to hear this principally. And right beside here is Ashishwara Mahadev's place, Ashishwara Mahadev, his temple, a beautiful Shiva temple, Shiva Lingam temple. And it's described that this is where Parajanya, he meditated to get the boon to have basically an empowered son manifesting from his middle son of Nanda Maharaj. First of all, when he was meditating here, he had no sons originally, but his Ishtadev is actually Lakshmi Narayan. This is Parjanya, the father of Nanda Baba, and he was worshipping Lakshmi Narayan here in Ashishwar Mahadev's place, and he heard an aerial voice proclaiming that you will have 5 sons, and the middle son, he will give birth to a son who is practically non-different to Lord Hari. And he was very, very happy, very excited to hear that benediction from the aerial voice. So this is what transpired. He had the 5 sons, Upananda, Abhinanda, Nanda, Sunanda, and Nanda, these 5 sons. And of course, Nanda Baba has Sri Krishna as his glorious son. So this is the pastime that we hear when we're in Ashishwa Mahadev. And it's right next to Rupa Goswami. We should appreciate that the Goswamis often lived very close to Mahadev. In Vrindavan, Sanatana Goswami lives close to Bankandi Mahadev. They lived close. Previously, he would visit Gopeshwar Mahadev. So in all the different places, the Shiva Lingam is very much honored. Shivji is honored by the Goswamis as the supporter and helper, we can say. Shivji Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu, he's the greatest Vaishnava. So Shivji would add strength to their circumstances, whatever they needed like that. Of course, they were utterly dependent on Krishna exclusively. Nevertheless, Shivji was there, always wanting to render some type of service to the Goswamis at this time. So then, also close to here is Nanda Bagh, the garden of Nanda Baba, beautiful garden where many flowers would be growing and the cows would be milked in this area. This is just a little bit south of Nandagaon. So Nanda Baba had many Goshalas. So he had a Goshala here, also in Nandabag. And there was a time when Krishna was milking many cows. But this place of Terkadamba, its particular speciality, it's directly halfway between Javat and Nandagaon. The path to Javat runs through Terkadamba. So whenever the gopis would be coming to Nandagaon, which would be every single morning to cook for Krishna, they would come on Mother Yashoda's request because Radharani had received that boon from Durvasa Rishi. So Jyotila had somehow been convinced by Punamasi to allow Krishna to come and cook in Nanda Bhavan. Now Radharani to come and cook in Nanda Bhavan every day for Krishna. So on this particular day, the gopis are coming along the path to Nandagaon, and right in the path, Krishna is milking the cows. So Lalita says to Radhika, I don't think we should come this way. That debauchee, he's here. He'll get up to some trouble for sure. We should take another route around. Radharani says, what do I have to fear from him? I'm completely entitled to walk on this path. Why should I be fearful of him? So she walks straight ahead, and of course all the other Sakis come with her. But Krishna, he's milking a cow, and what does he do? He squirts her directly in the face with it. As she comes by, he just manages to squirt. He's very expert at milking, of course, because he's been milking all his life. So he knows how to just aim and with a heavy pressure and milk. Radharani is basically abhisheked. And all the Sakis laugh. And Krishna laughs and all the Sakas are laughing. And Radharani, she's also smiling. And then they go a little further along, but Radharani feels that she has not had sufficient darshan of Krishna, so she's wearing a pearl necklace, and she manages to break the pearl necklace so it scatters on the path. Then she bends down to start picking up all the pearls, and she can see Krishna's reflection in the pearls. So she's gazing at Krishna in the pearls of her necklace on the ground while she's collecting them. So then she becomes satisfied that she actually had a good darshan of Krishna, satisfied her heart. So these brilliant type of pastimes would go on in this area. This is right next to Terkadamba in Nandabag. This pastime actually takes place, which is between Ashishwa Mahadev and Terkadamba. So this is the area here. So now we're going to walk around the base of Nandishwar Hill, and we're going to come back to the township of Nandagaon, and we're going to go to our left, and we're going to circumambulate round the hill of Nandishwar, and we're going to come first to Pavan Sarovar. Pavan Sarovar has just been recently, in the last 5 or 7 years, renovated, and it's a very large Sarovar, large kund. On the other side of the Kund from where we're standing next on the Nandagaon side, but on the other side of the Kund is Pavan Bihari, beautiful deity of Radha and Krishna are there. And there are so many celebrated pastimes in this Pavan Sarovar. All the gopas, this Sarovar is named after the husband of Vishaka Devi. Vishaka Devi's husband is called Pavan Gopa. And Pavan Gopa, he arranged to have this kund excavated for the pleasure of Nanda Baba and all the cowherd boys, but principally also the cows. There's a very large ramp at both ends where all the buffaloes and cows, they can enter into the kund and they can take bath to their satisfaction. They can even swim across the kund and walk up the other side. So this is why these large kunds originally were there, to not only satisfy the local residents, but also to facilitate the cows and buffaloes bathing. But Radha used to come sometimes, and she would bathe with her sakis on one end of the Sarovar. And on the other side of the Sarovar, then the sakas, they would also be bathing around about 11, 12 sometimes in the day. And Krishna, he would see the sakis on the other side of the Sarovar, and he would swim underneath the Sarovar like a crocodile. And then he'd come to the gopis' feet and he'd catch them and he'd pull them under the water. And then he turned around and swam all the way back, holding his breath. So no one even saw him. So these are very, very confidential, sweet, playful pastimes that we hear in Pavan Sarovar. So this Pavan Sarovar is, on the banks of Pavan Sarovar, is the Bhajan Kutia of Sanatan Goswami. And as I just explained, Sanatan Goswami would go to visit Rupa, and Rupa would come to visit Sanatan Goswami. So Sanatan Goswami would reside here performing his bhajan. And close to Sanatan Goswami's kutia is the samadhi of Krishna Das Babaji. I think it's his full samadhi. I'm not sure, but it's right next to that. It's a beautiful murti of Krishnadas Babaji, who was the elevated disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, a very remarkable personality, completely niskinchana, completely transcendental to this material world. I had a friend who knew him very well, and one night they were camping in Jaipur at a program, and he was resting next to Krishnadas Babaji, and he described that Krishnadas Babaji just didn't sleep in the night. All he did was chant. He just chanted throughout the whole night. This is what he is very much well known for, is he never would give up his chanting. He would be chanting the whole time. And if he wasn't chanting just softly to him, he would be doing kirtan. So a remarkable, elevated personality. So his samadhi is right next to Sanatan Goswami there. So when we come here, we can remember the glories of Sanatan Goswami and his time with Mahaprabhu, where he got that seed. Sanatan Goswami represents Sambandha Gyan. So Sanatan Goswami was given those teachings in Varanasi just after Mahaprabhu had taught Rupa Goswami in Prayag. Then Mahaprabhu comes to Varanasi and he meets Sanatan Goswami. And then there's 5 chapters at the end of the Madhya Lila that describe this Sanatan Shiksha. And it goes into great detail of all the explanations of the Sambandha Gyan that Mahaprabhu is imparting directly into the heart of Sanatan Goswami. Sambandha Gyan is the principal platform. What is our relationship? Sanatan Goswami, when he comes to Mahaprabhu, he asks him, Kiami, who am I? Everyone is saying that I'm a great pandit or something like that, but I don't believe that at all. Who am I really? And then Mahaprabhu starts to explain, Jivera Sarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, you are an eternal spiritual soul. Jivera Sarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. What's that? Tatashta Prakash. That he is from this Tatashta Shakti. And then he's explaining this very significant principle, this platform to begin our spiritual practice. So all this is explained to Sanatan Goswami at this place. So we can unpack so much of Sanatana Shiksha in this particular place, begging for the mercy of these exalted personalities. This is why we come to these places. We can offer our obeisances within the dust of these places, begging with our hearts for that personality to please benedict us with their kripa. And they are so pleased that we have taken the trouble to actually come to their holy places, their places of bhajan. And certainly during the month of Kartik, they will want to benedict us so much and offer their support for our bhajan in this birth. So this is Sanatan Goswami and Krishnadas Babaji and Pavan Sarovar. So we've come to this whole circle. Just behind here, away from Nandagaon, there is Rohini Kund. And next to Rohini Kund is another Goshala of Nanda Baba. This is perhaps 2 miles from here. It's basically 2 miles south of Nandagaon. Nandagaon is like we pointed out previously, but 2 miles north of Nandagaon. And there's also Vrindakund is there. Vrindakund and Guptakund are there. Vrindadevi resided there. And Krishna would come. We've described this pastime previously when we went to Kamyavan, because Kamyavan is quite close to where we are. We are on the edge of Rajasthan, actually. So Vrindakund is there, and Rohini Kund is there, and the posts where Nanda Baba used to tie the cows and bulls to are still remaining. There are many posts, stone posts in the ground that you can see. The remnants of Nanda Baba's Goshala is there. It's a couple of miles from Nandagaon. You have to walk through the dirt road to actually get there. But all of these reminders of the pastimes of Krishna 5,000 years ago are still remaining today. This is why we're coming to Nandagaon, to fill our consciousnesses with thoughts of Krishna's Krishna's being here, and all his pastimes here with Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, etc. So we're trying to fill ourselves up with memories of Radha and Krishna's pastime. Krishna's pastimes here principally, but of course Radha is always close by. So now from Pavan Sarovar, now we're going to walk up Nandishwar Hill. There's two ways to climb the hill. You can climb the hill from the front side where we came in, and that steps, very steep steps, goes around, sort of spirals up. But the steps on the other side by Pavan Sarovar, where we are, just go straight up the side of Nandishwar. So we go up these very beautiful, broad, wide steps, which aren't used so much. Most of the visitors, they use the other steps, so we can come up this back way. And we reach Nanda Bhavan at the top. We have to go, it's a very steep steps just to enter the Bhavan. There's 3 different entrances where you can climb up to actually get to the Bhavan at the end. So it's steep steps to climb up. But once we're in the Bhavan, then it's very spacious. It's very beautiful. There's huge courtyard, and you can walk on the ramparts. You can go up to the 2nd floor, and you can see for hundreds of miles around. You can see Vrindakund, you can see Pavan Sarovar, you can see Tergadamba, you can see all these places from the walkway around the top. But this is where Nanda Baba has his palace with Krishna and Mother Yashoda. And Jiva Goswami gives an incredible description of the palace with its resting rooms, with its kitchen, with its storerooms, with the sewing rooms, with the milk places where they would boil the milk, the kitchens, etc. And it's very, very, very extensive, because every day thousands of sakas would come and in the Bhojan Laya, in the dining room, and all take their Bhojan with Krishna. And all the meals that Krishna takes are with thousands of people. And the sakas, they would all come regularly. So it's a very spacious building indeed. And Nanda Baba would live there, the king of Braj. So he would live there in apparent opulence, but not not lower type of opulence, but just opulence in space and facility that he had to offer to all the Brijabasis, so regularly there. So in the Gopal Champu, these descriptions are there very beautifully. So now we've taken, and on the altar, of course, there is, first of all, when you look at the altar, on the extreme left is Sri Radhika. She's looking like she's alone practically on the altar. And then when we come in a little bit, then you have Mother Yashoda, a very large Mother Yashoda. And then next to Mother Yashoda is Krishna, and next to Nanda Baba is Balaram. So we have Radharani, Mother Yashoda, Krishna, Balaram, Nanda Baba. And then we have 2 sakas. This is Sudam Saka and Sridam Saka on the other side of Nanda. So you have a whole family here on the altar. It's very, very beautiful. When you go in, it looks that they always dress Krishna and Balaram identically, and they're both blackish colored on the altar. So it's very hard to tell which is which. The one who is closest to Mother Yashoda is Krishna, and the one who is closest to Nanda Baba is Balaram. So if we appreciate that, and the pujaris will always invite us into the sanctum, the central place in the altar, where we can sit and have nice darshan of the family of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba. And Radharani is there also, and Krishna Balaram, of course. So Rohini? No, Rohini's not there, I don't think. I don't remember Rohini being there. No, she's not there. Rohini is always in the background. Certainly Rohini is always, there's always a flavor. Nanda Baba, he directed that Rohini has to always stay with Mother Yashoda so that they can protect each other from all the demons. Krishna and Balaram should always be together. So Rohini, her presence is there, but not on the altar. Not on the altar. And when we come out of that inner place, the actual temple itself has beautiful ornate paintings all in the ceiling there that we can appreciate. And then we hear really sweet Harikatha about Nandagaon and all the activities that would go on in Nanda Bhavan, like I've described a little bit in the Bhojanlaya, in the taking their pastime, breakfast, etc. The cowherd suckers, they would always come early in the morning, dressed and ready to go out in the pasturing grounds, but Mother Yashoda would insist they all sit and they take some prasad first. So this is very beautiful meditation for us to sit and absorb the busy goings on in Nanda Bhavan. But of course, when Krishna leaves Vrindavan, everything becomes completely deserted and there's a whole different mood. Now we're going to go down the other side of Nandishwar Hill. We've come up from Pavan Sarovar. Now we're going down the other side, and we come back to the main road where we came in from Varshana, and immediately there's Lalita Kund. Lalita Kund is there, and we remember the beauty. It's a very beautiful kund to look at. Oh, but on the way to Lalita Kund, on our left at the bottom of the hill, there's Surya Kund. Surya Kund is there. There's also Yashoda Kund is there too. There's actually 54 kunds altogether around Nandishwar Hill. Not all of them are manifest today, but there's 54. So many of them are there. And if you have 2 or 3 or 4 days, previously with our Parikrama party, with my Gurudev, we would camp in Nandagaon itself for about 3 days. And before that, we would be camping in Varshana. And we would walk from Varshana to Nandagaon. And we would stop center place in Sanket, and we'd stop in Prem Sarovar, but we'd walk the whole, it's only 7 miles. So it's not so far. It's like the length of the Vrindavan Parikrama. So we would walk in the early morning to Nandagaon and visit many of these kunds. And my Gurudev explained how Suryadev, he meditated for 60,000 years to have 10 seconds darshan of Krishna. Which is okay, actually, because if you have even 1 second darshan of Krishna, your life is going to be transformed. So for 60,000 years, he meditated, and he got 10 seconds darshan of Krishna in Nandagaon, which means Brajendra Nandan, Sham Sundar. So they have his darshan, but how can they keep it in their hearts? That's another question. And then there's Yashoda Kund is there, very close to Surya Kund. And Mother Yashoda, she would bathe in that kund with the other gopis, ladies, elderly ladies. And now across the road, we come to Lalita Kund, where Lalita and the Sakis would bathe. And Lalita, there's a beautiful pastime where she's making a garland for Krishna. Radharani is staying a little bit close by, but not in Lalita Kund. And she's asked Lalita Saki to make a garland for Krishna. So Lalita Saki is making a garland, and then she's holding it up, and then she's discarding it. And then she keeps on doing this again and again. And Narad, he's hiding in the bushes and he can see what she's doing. And he comes out, he says, "What are you doing? This is fascinating. You're making all these garlands and then you're discarding them." And Lalita explains, "I want to get exactly the right size for Krishna. And each time I'm not satisfied with the right size." And then Narad, who's very tricky, just this very morning, Krishna has spoken to Radharani and told her, beware of Narad. He's very tricky. Don't listen to everything he says. Narad is always trying to make a difficult situation happen. So he's warned Radharani. Krishna has warned Radharani in the morning. But Radharani, she didn't really pay much attention to it. So now Narad is coming in front of Lalita Saki and asking her about making these garlands. Lalita's saying, "But because I don't know the right size of Krishna." Exactly. So Narad suggests, "Well, why don't you call him? He's very close by. He's just in Govardhan. You can call him, he'll come. And you can put the garland on him directly and get exactly the right size." So Lalita Saki, she does that. She goes with some other sakas and some sakis, and they meet the sakas and they ask the sakas to request Krishna to please come. And Krishna comes very happily to Lalita Kund, and Lalita, she makes this beautiful garland, fits exactly onto Krishna. And then Lalita is very satisfied, but then Narad, he says to Krishna, "Oh, one time you promised me that you would give me darshan of you and Lalita Saki on a swing. And there's a nice swing here. Why don't you both sit on the swing and then I can have your darshan on the swing?" So Lalita and Krishna, they agree and they sit on the swing and they start. And then immediately Narad goes in front of Radharani and starts saying that Krishna and Lalita are having a beautiful swing just in the Kund here, in Lalita Kund. And of course, Radharani, she becomes like, she can't believe this for a moment, that Lalita would do such a thing. And then Radharani, she comes close by and she sees from a distance that it's true. Krishna and Lalita are on a swing. And she goes into a very high state of man. And then Krishna realizes what Narad's done and he comes to pacify Radhika's man. And then he explains to Radhika that I told you in the early morning, don't beware of Narad's words. He's always trying to arrange something tricky. So then Radharani, somehow Krishna manages to pacify Radharani at this point and brings Radharani to Lalita Kund. And then Radharani sits on the swing and then with Krishna. And then Lalita and Vishaka, they push the swing very beautifully in Lalita Kund. So this beautiful pastime takes place where we are now in Lalita Kund. Lalita Kund itself is a very beautiful kund. Right in the center of the kund, we see like an island, and it's a natural bird sanctuary because there's no predators there. There's huge like cranes and swans and so on that are inhabiting that. They look like swans. They're not actually swans, but they're these big like saras birds and very beautiful white cranes. So now we're going to come out of Lalita Kund and we're going to walk along the road towards Varshana, maybe a quarter of a kilometer. Our buses will all be parked on that road. And then we're going to head across to the left for about a kilometer distance. And we're going to come to Uddhav Kyari. Uddhav Kyari is that very solitary place today. When it's flooded, you can't get into Uddhav Kyari. But recently they built up the road a little bit and you can get into Uddhav Kyari. And there's a Baba there, Sham Saka, Sham Das Babaji, who was a good friend of my Gurudev. And my Gurudev has always been very respectful to him because he's just remained there. He's like captured this property from the Forest Commission. It doesn't belong to him at all. But because he's so diligently planted trees, and he's even built a beautiful altar and platform for Uddhav glorification, and he's renovated the beautiful kund there. Vishaka Kund is there. This is the place where Vishaka Saki lived also. Not lived, but had her pastime places. So this is the most extraordinary place in Uddhav Kyari because there is the very highest separation mood manifesting here in Uddhav Kyari, as well as the deepest mood of union taking place, because there's a Ras Leela at Vishaka Kund. Vishaka Kund is here, and Vishaka Kund is very, very beautiful to look at. If you remember Vishaka Kund, it's always very clear. They have some kind of green, in English we call it lichin. It's like a green underwater grass, and it keeps the Kund really crystal clear. When you look at the Kund, it's always clear. It's always very beautiful to see. So now there's a gut, and you can come into that Kund, and you can take bath there, and remember Vishaka Devi and the Rasalila there. But then when we come behind there to the Mandir of Uddhav, remember this is where Uddhav, this is the same place where Akrura left from when he took Krishna and Balaram. When Akrura took Krishna and Balaram, we discussed this yesterday a little bit. There's a road just close by called Akrura Rasta, and it's full of prickles, and it's not used so much. They consider it very inauspicious road, but it's the road where Balaram and Krishna were taken by Akrura. And this is the place where the gopis stood watching Krishna disappear when there was absolutely not even any dust left from the chariot. And it's described in the Bhagavatam that they became like figures in a painting. They just became like frozen, because they knew intuitively Krishna's not going to come back for a long time. This is what they were intuitively understanding. And they stay in this place for a whole 100 years. And this is where Uddhav comes to meet them. We described the chapter, 46th chapter in the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, where Uddhav comes into Braj. And yesterday I was describing when his meeting with Nanda Baba, and Mother Yashoda, she's can't say anything. So in the morning, after this evening meeting with Uddhav, then Uddhav comes into this beautiful Kadamba forest where he's seen this illumination of the gopis, and he comes in to the assembly of all the gopis. And I'd really like to read to you just a synopsis of much of that 46th chapter. And my desire, my intention is to inspire you all to read this chapter of the Brahmara Gita. There's 5 principal Gits in the Bhagavatam. The first Gita, the Gits are the songs of separation by the gopis. There's the Venu Gita, that's in chapter 21, that's the first Gita. Then there's Pranaya Gita, that's just before the Rasa Leela begins, when Krishna sends the gopis home. After they've given up everything and they've run to him, then he says, you shouldn't be coming away from your families. This is not dharmic. This is not respectable thing to do. You should go back to your families. And the gopis, they refute him. They defeat Krishna. But there's beautiful verses by the gopis where they're feeling mortified and in deep separation because Krishna seems to be sending them back. So this is called Pranaya Gita. And then after Pranaya Gita is Gopi Gita, which is the 31st chapter, when the gopis again are feeling distraught in their separation from Krishna. Right? Jayati te dikam janmana. These beautiful verses are there. And then we come to Yugal Gita. This is the 35th chapter. And then the gopis are describing the wonderful nature and personality of Krishna, but in a mood of separation. Because Krishna is not with them at that time. He's in the pasturing grounds, but it's like Venu Gita. Krishna is there in Braj, but he's not directly with the gopis. So they're singing this Gita of separation. But now in this Brahmara Gita, Krishna has been away for a long time. Krishna and Balaram have already gone to Ujjain. They've already been schooled by Sandipani Muni, and they've come back to Mathura. And then Krishna is sending Uddhav into Vrindavan. So years have actually passed, and Krishna has sent Uddhav with his messages. So Uddhav comes into the assembly of the gopis, And the gopis are very unhappy, of course. They believe that Uddhav has only come to give messages to his mother and father. Why should Krishna worry about them? The gopis are angry with Krishna. Why has Krishna left them? They're hurt. This is an insight into the transcendental, loving relationship between Radha and Krishna, between Krishna and the Sakhis. All of these Geets are meant to bring the sadhak closer into this appreciation of what is the nature of this prem. We keep hearing about prem. What is the nature of that prem between Krishna and the gopis? And the gopis are the expression of that prem, because they express their hearts in these Geets. So particularly, most especially, is this Brahmara Geet. Brahmara means the bumblebee, because when Uddhav comes into the presence of the gopis, then he's listening to the gopis initially. The gopis, let me just read from here a little bit, see how far we get. So in the 6th verse of this chapter, the gopis are challenging Uddhav. They're complaining to Uddhav, so to speak, that fickle people, they just give up their loved ones and leave. So they're saying, like fickle men abandon a beautiful woman after drinking their honey-like affection. And then there's another one, too, is prostitutes abandon a penniless man. This is what the gopis are saying directly to Uddhav. Then they say, subjects abandon an incompetent king. And then students abandon a teacher when their education is complete. They're making all these comparisons to Krishna because they're hurt. This is the nature of what we're about to enter into here. The hearts of the gopis. It's phenomenal, actually. There's 10 stages of mad talk that Radharani is about to give to a bumblebee, which might be considered to be Uddhav directly in Radharani's mind, or is it Krishna directly coming from Mathura? But in each case, we get an insight into the suffering nature of Radharani's heart. Then it's saying the priests abandon a donor who has been remunerated. Once the priest has got his dakshin, then he just simply goes. Birds abandon a tree with no fruits. Guests a house where they have eaten. Animals a forest that has burned down. And a lover is abandoned by her lover, who may be still attached to him after they have engaged in their loving activities. The paramour will abandon her again. So the gopis, it's described, put aside their other work and loudly, without shame, sang of Krishna's pastimes. They wept openly. First of all, the gopis were very shy when Uddhav comes, but now they've opened their hearts because they have trust in this messenger to some degree. They know he's from Mathura, they know he's not a Brijvasi, but they know he's representing their lover, Krishna. So they open their hearts, because most of the time the gopis' hearts are very much concealed. They don't open them, but now it's described that they're weeping loudly because they have loved Krishna since their youth. So it is not lust. This is not a lust that we're hearing about. They've known Krishna since their youth. Now Radha begins chastising a bee. Radharani is in a stage of Mahabhav. Radharani's state of consciousness at this point, it's described that her breasts have become black. Her whole body is completely like a skeleton practically. She's ready to leave her body at any moment. She's only maintaining her life airs because Krishna promised he would come back. Krishna said he would come back. So if Krishna comes back and Radharani has left this world, Krishna will be very unhappy. So it's because of Krishna that she's staying alive. So all the gopis have been trying to tend to her because her viraha, her separation, is higher than any of the other gopis. This is why Uddhav, he's allowed to see this mad talk, it's described as divyan mad, this madness of love, of separation from Krishna that Radhika is experiencing in the presence of Uddhav. Radhika imagining that Krishna is associating with Mathura women. This is what Radhika is thinking, or it's saying in the commentary that Radha is actually about to speak to Uddhav as if he's the bee. So in either case, but I'm speaking this and hoping that you will all dive into this pastime yourselves, because it's like an internal absorption that the sadhak will get so much nourishment from. And if we hear this pastime in Uddhav Kyari, in this place where we are, then surely the Uddhav himself and our gurus will give us entrance into real contemplation of this pastime. So now Radhika, she says this beautiful famous verse, Madhupa Kitapa Bando, that stay away from my feet. Don't touch my feet with your whiskers smeared with kumkum. You've seen those big bumblebees, they automatically have pink or reddish whiskers. But Radharani is seeing this reddish whiskers as the kumkum of the breasts of the Mathuravasi women. And she's seeing, imagining that this bee is actually Krishna. And then this Divyan Mad, this bewildered by madness. And now this is extraordinary because there's 10 verses here. This is the essence of Brahmara Gita. Most of these Gits, as I described, they're perhaps 10 or 12 verses, but they're the highest expressions of love in the whole of the Bhagavatam. And if we ever get an opportunity, I've always loved to have an opportunity to speak about these things. So I'm just taking advantage of this Parikrama excuse to be able to just speak this particular pastime, because most of the time we don't have the opportunity to speak about Brahmara Gita. It's a very confidential pastime. But now we're at Uddhav Kyari, so we can speak this pastime today. So these 10 expressions, and Uddhav is absolutely astonished because Radharani, she's scolding Krishna in a very derogatory manner. And Uddhav, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's that divine person. And here is this, his lover is describing him in such bad language, more or less. And Uddhav is totally astonished. She's saying, Radharani is unhappy because Krishna has said that it is impossible for him to repay. When Krishna appeared after the Gopi Gita was sung, he says this beautiful verse, Naparyeham niravadya samyujam swasvadu krityam vibhudyasya picha yamabhajam durja gekala shrinkala sangvishchaya tadva pratiyatu sadhana. That Krishna is saying, I cannot repay you. And now he's gone away. For so many years he's gone away. But he said previously that he couldn't repay us, and now he's done this. So Radharani is hurt by this. This is the material aspect, understand. This is the naimitic aspect, but nevertheless, it gives us an insight into the moods of the gopis' prem, because this can only be spoken of by those who have the highest prem for Krishna. You understand? It's not so easy to understand, because if we view it materially, we'll see it as something else, but it's not material at all. It's totally spiritual. So, she condemns Krishna as a cheater with indignation. She's jealous about the rival lovers in Mathura, and she is accusing Krishna of being prideful, and she gives Krishna so much disrespect and harsh words. And Rupa Goswami, he's described this as called prajalpa. All of these stages are called chitra jalpa. There's 10 types of jalpa that I would just like to touch on very briefly, just to give you an insight into the nature of the Bhagavatam which describes this. Actually, it's described by Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is defining this as prajalpa. Prajalpa means is speech that denigrates, that means accuses, the tactlessness of one's lover with expressions of disrespect. It is spoken in a mood of envy, jealousy, and pride. This is the mood that is spoken in. And Uddhav, he's listening to this and he's astonished. What is the nature of this prem? We think that prem is just, affection. But it's so much more than that. How does that affection reach its pinnacle? Except by these types of moods in separation. Then Radharani continues, we drank the nectar of his lips once, then he abandoned us. Goddess Padma must have been stolen by his sweet words. She's saying actually that Goddess Padma is inferior to her because the Brijabasis are smarter. They know that Krishna is a debauchee. They're not going to take his tricks anymore. Saying that they only kissed once, even though they kissed many times, shows their greed. It's an exhibition of their greed. And then it speaks many beautiful things. And then finally, this stage is called Parijalpa. So we had Prajalpa, now we have Parijalpa, which means she shows through various devices one's own cleverness. Radharani is showing her own cleverness by expressing his mercilessness, his merciless duplicity, fickleness, and ungratefulness. So all of these jalpas, they crescendo, so to speak, in the fifth jalpa. There's 10 of these jalpas. So the fifth jalpa is called Sanjalpa. And it's that speech that decries with deep irony and insulting behavior, the insulting behavior of the beloved and his ingratitude and complete lack of love. This is how Radharani's feeling. These are her true feelings she's expressing in the form of this bumblebee. It's an extraordinary pastime. Really, isn't it? Just incredible that this bumblebee has manifested in such a way to appear to be either Krishna or Uddhav. And then Radharani is expressing her hurtfulness towards Krishna. So it crescendos in the fifth jalpa. And then for the next 5 jalpas, it gradually starts to come out of that harshness and starts to soften. Then the next one is Abhajalpa. When the lover is impelled by fear and jealousy, she declares the Lord unworthy of her attachment because of his harshness, lust, and his dishonesty. So these young girls are expressing in this way, or Radharani is expressing. Radharani is Adyantika Adhika. She has the highest moods of affection towards Krishna than anyone does. So these expressions are manifesting from her heart. And Rupa Goswami has captured these expressions and given them clarity. He's named each expression, and they go in a state, they're like in a wave. They go to the very deepest part of accusation towards Krishna, and then they gradually start to, Radharani starts to feel some regret for having spoken so harshly to Krishna. And then the next one is Abhijalpa. It's described when a lover indirectly states with remorse that her beloved is fit to be given up because he is so cruel that he tortures even innocent birds. But remember all the time that Uddhav is hearing this. Uddhav is hearing these expressions of anger and abuse towards Krishna in this Udavkeri. So how sanctified is this particular place where we are now? This is Udavkeri. When my Gurudev would come here, he would sit in a very, very deep meditative, contemplative mood and just be reflecting of this pastime that took place here. This pastime is eternal, to give us an insight into the nature of Radhika's love for Krishna. The next one is Ajalpa, spoken in disgust, describing the male lover's deceitfulness and brings misery to one should stop. We should stop talking about him and speak about something more pleasant. But the gopis can't stop talking about Krishna. Even though they try to stop, they try to turn away from Krishna, because it brings so much pain to them, because Krishna is not present. But understand that the extremity of this pain, when this pain becomes most extreme, that is when the stage of Mohan Mahabhav will manifest. That's when they will have union internally. There's Mohan and Modan. These are the two stages of separation. And when the separation becomes most extreme, then in their meditation, they actually achieve complete union with Krishna. Because it's described that this Mohan Mahabhav is exactly the same taste of ecstasy as Madan Akya. Madan is when they meet. Mohan is when they're separate. So we have Madan, Mohan. We have the Madan, Mohan deity. So the Mohan is separation and the Madan is meeting. So this Mohan is as high as the Madan. In other words, it's described these Ashtasattvika bhavs are all 8 bhavs are blazing. This is called Sudipta, when all these barbs are fully blazing. This is the nature of both of these conditions. Therefore, in the extremity of their separation, they reach this height of union internally. Understand? I don't understand, but I'm saying it. I want to understand, and I'm thinking that if I speak about it and others listen, then afterwards some mercy may come, and I may understand what is the principal thing I'm looking for is to develop full service to Radha and Krishna's pastimes. Somehow or other, that kripa, because it can only come from them to appreciate these states of consciousness. Why are we told these states of consciousness? Not only told, but we're told publicly in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is what I'm reading from. In this 47th chapter of the 10th canto, all of these stages are described. Why are they described? To inspire the sadhak to enter this world. Don't linger in the material considerations too long, because we'll grow old. The mind will grow old and habituated to various material considerations all the time and obstructions. But if we leave that behind, leave that material entanglement through detachment, and the only way we can leave that material attachment is through attachment to these types of topics. If the heart, if the consciousness can become inspired towards these types of topics, this verse I said the other day, Vikriditam Brajavadubi itam cha Vishnu, Shradanvitu Nushrunyat Artharvarenyam Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labhya Karamam Hridrogam Asava Pinoti Akcharena Dira. This is the last verse of the Rasa Panchadya. When Shukadev, he's saying that first you hear about these topics, first you become inspired to listen about the Braja Leelas, the Braja pastimes, and then Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labhya, that this bhakti will arise in the heart. But first you have to hear about it. Obviously you have to hear about it. But if no one is speaking about it, how will you ever hear about it? So I'm taking advantage of this Vraja-mandala Parikrama and the fact that we are in Udavkeri today to actually speak about these jalpas. So, as I said, these 10 jalpas, they come to a climax of severity with the fifth jalpa, which is called Sanjalpa. That Sanjalpa is the most accusative of Krishna's debauchery. And then gradually it's softening. And then we come to the Pratijalpa. These are now humble statements expressing respect for the messenger. The messenger is considered the bumblebee, but refuses to meet Krishna due to his licentious behavior with other women. So Radharani will not meet with Krishna. She's standing, telling the mom, I won't go to Mathura, I won't meet with him because of his debauchery with other women. What's Radharani supposed to do? How is she supposed to feel? And now the last one, Sujalpa. This is the 10th one. Out of honest sincerity, the lover inquires about Krishna with gravity, humility, unsteadiness, and unique eagerness. So it's gone from all these extreme stages. This is called Brahmaragit, that I've just tried to present in a very short space of time. We're not even physically directly in Uddhav Keri, but if we can imagine ourselves to be there, it's an extraordinary atmosphere because there's nothing around except a few smallish trees and the atmosphere of Nandagaon. In the distance, we can see the hill of Nandishwar, but where we are, there is nothing. It's like as if you're in a desert practically. There's trees and there's a small temple. It's a very, very, very lonely place. And this Sham Saka Baba has stayed there for 25, 30 years practically. And every single tree we see, he's planted. So my Gurudev would always like to support that place because it's such a exceptional pastime place. The Gaudiyas, we discuss these separation moods on the meetings of Radha and Krishna. So in a perhaps somewhat clumsy way, I've tried to express something of this Brahmaragit in the hopes that you may become inspired yourself, especially the Sa'artha Darshani, the book by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, his commentary on the 10th canto. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada didn't write a commentary on this chapter. He writes as far as the Brahma Vimohan Lila, and then he left this world. So the commentary from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has been translated, this Sa'artha Darshani book. And if we read the 47th chapter, and on our WhatsApp thread, we can publish a PDF of this book if you don't have it. And I would love to encourage you all, for yourselves, to appreciate the exceptional speciality of Radharani's moods that are expressed here in complete madness, and appreciating simultaneously that Uddhav, he's witnessing this. Uddhav has come from Mathura, and he's never seen anything in his life like this. He's only seen awe and veneration towards Krishna. And here is Radharani calling Krishna a debauchee, a licentious behavior, a cheater. So many negative things she's calling him. Uddhav practically can't believe it, but he's understanding something very deep. This is prem. This is the highest stage of prem, because Krishna speaks so much about the gopis when he's in Mathura to Uddhav. So Uddhav is understanding this is the highest nature of prem. And it's described how the gopis, they are carrying that highest stage of prem into this world. So when we come to this Uddhav Kyari, we can appreciate the tremendous moods of meeting at Vishaka Kund, of the Rasalila, simultaneously to this separation where the gopis are experiencing 100 years of waiting for Krishna to return. So both of these considerations are there. And ultimately, Uddhav, he's saying, Asam aho charanareno jusam, aham shyam, that I want just simply to become a bush in this forest of Vrindavan to receive the dust from the lotus feet of these most exalted Brajadevis, these gopis. Uddhav, he's disciple of Brihaspati, so qualified. and yet he's seeing these simple village girls as having the highest prem in existence. And it's exhibited here in Udavkund, Udavkeri particularly. So we can perhaps read this chapter ourselves, chapter 47, the Brahmara Gita. This is the fifth Gita. This is when Krishna has already left Vrindavan. So from here, we'll leave now, and I hope that you will take some inspiration from this place to actually examine more closely the phenomenal nature of Radhika's love for Krishna in this language of Chitra Jalpa, Divyan Mad, these mad talks. Now we will walk back to the main road, which is the Varshana road, and we'll head back to Govardhan, but we'll go via Sanket. Sanket is that meeting place. It's directly between Nandagaon and Varshana. Nandagaon and Varshana are 7 kilometers apart. So 3.5 kilometers from Nandagaon, we come to the township or village of Sanket. And our dear Nrsimha Prabhu is going to explain to us some of the pastime places in Sanket, and then we'll go back to Giriraj Govardhan.
And Subal Milan, briefly, Subal Milan.
Oh, Gopastami. Yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah, I know. It's all right.
Go ahead, turn it around.
Agyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shulakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yenatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikayai Tadalayai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikayai Priyatmane Sisimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Iti Namane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So because Sripad Tridandi Maharaj has asked me to say something, I thank him for being so kind to help me focus on, remember, hear these pastimes, which I'm, of course, completely unqualified to say anything about. So remembering the causeless mercy of the Vaishnavas and my gurus, then I will try to say something. So first of all, today is, today, oh, I've got one. Oh, really? Both? All right. So today is Gopastami, and it's very famous, celebrated, because on this day, and we're going to find out why, Radharani, who is the emblem of chastity, her feet are shown. They're never shown, never, except on 2 days, Radhastami and Gopastami. And this being so, should encourage the devotees that it is not really appropriate to take a photograph so that we can look at the picture of Radharani's feet or have it on our altar or anywhere, any day. That's inappropriate. She's giving her darshan at this time only. We should not take it whenever we like. This is not appropriate. So why is she dressed in the clothes of a gopa? So there is an occasion, one pastime. We've just heard about the absolute intensity of the gopis, Radharani in particular, the highest mood of separation. And so there are also instances where Krishna is feeling great separation, and this is one of those times that he is feeling great separation from Radhika, so much separation that he can't tolerate the pain, and he turns to his dear friend Subal Saka. Subal is the leader of the Priya Narma Sakas, and so he's very, very intimate. And the Priya Narma Sakas are also involved in assisting with the meetings of Radha and Krishna. They're doing this, and say something about that in a moment. So, in a very desperate state, Krishna pleads, Subal, you must bring Radharani here. I cannot live without her. And Subal asks, how can I do such a thing? Krishna, you can figure it out. So Subal thinks, and then he comes up with an idea. So he grabs a calf. And it should be understood that Subal, in appearance, he has the same golden complexion as Radharani, and he looks very similar to her. And he goes to Yavat, and he is just about to enter the house of Radharani, and Jatila sees him. And she goes, oh, what are you doing here? You are that friend of that mischievous, that very bad boy, that Krishna. It's always up to mischief. And you've come here to do mischief? So, well, no, you're not understanding. Oh, what had happened just before then, I should say, Subal put the calf down, twisted the tail so the calf would run off. So he's there now without the calf. And he said, oh, mother, please, I have lost one of our calves. And the mother cow is going she's very disturbed, making so much noise. So I must find this calf. And Jatila is saying, I don't know how this calf would come all the way here from Nandagaon, but anyway, be quick, you can do that. So she's placated for a minute. So Subal goes in and he finds Radharani and he says to her, he explains, oh, Krishna is distraught. He cannot survive without you. And so I have a plan. So what we will do is we will change clothes. So Radharani puts on the clothes of Subal Saka. She gets this calf and she holds the calf. And in this way, the calf is also hiding her breasts. And dressed like this, she looks like Subal Saka. And Jatila says, yes, well, be off with you. Yes, I am done. And off Subal Radharani goes. And as he approaches where Krishna is, Krishna can see. And Krishna, in his mood, he's so distraught. He's actually mad now. He looks and he said, oh, Subal, you have failed. And Radharani, as Subal said, yes, it was not possible to bring her out here at this time of day, in the middle of the day. And Krishna is saying, oh, then I do not think I can maintain my life. And Radharani Subal said, well, if you like, I can go and get Chandravali. and Krishna said, oh, if somebody is anxious for milk, how will curd do? And Radharani says, oh, my beloved, don't you recognize your maidservant? She immediately completely softens. She sees Krishna is totally 100% at this moment dedicated to her. And so she goes and she embraces him, and Krishna receives what he wants, and he's very, very happy. So this pastime is very much a delight of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and it takes place on the same day as Gopastami, which is why on Gopastami, Radharani is dressed this way. So one other thing to appreciate, since we mentioned that Subal is a Priyanama. This is the service he can do. The Priyanama can do service like this. They cannot enter the secret groves and kunjas of Govardhan. They cannot enter where Krishna is alone enjoying amorous pastimes with Radharani and these intimate confidential pastimes with the gopis, because they are male, and in those pastimes there is only one male. And this is very important because it dashes this very prominent misconception, which is upasidantic. What is the word? Anyway, it is new movements are developing. new movements against the conclusions, opposidantic movements developing. This is one that's presenting that Prabhupada is a cowherd boy, that somehow the greatest, most prominent exponent of Rupa Goswami's teachings from Mahaprabhu about Manjari Bhava, about the love of Radha and Krishna, these things that Mahaprabhu has chosen as Senapati, somebody that's not even realizing these things because he's a Gopa. It's absurd. So this is something to consider at this point, what the Priyanarmasakas can do, but where their limit is. So now we are going to Sanket, and so I'll just read what Srila Gurudev says about this. Sanket means signal. So this place is situated between Nandagaon and Varshana. The first meeting of Srimati Radhika and Sri Krishna after their Purva Raga took place. Purva Raga means the great anticipation and eagerness that the lovers have before they've ever met. They know they're about to meet. So the very first place that they meet is here at Sanket. And after that, so Srimati Radhika would then come from the house of her in-laws in Javat, and Sri Krishna would come from Nandagaon. They would meet here. Three personalities in particular would act as messengers or duties, and they are Vrinda Devi, Veera Devi, and Subala Saka, and Subal. And this Veera Devi is actually Saket Devi, who is worshipped there as well. There's a beautiful deity of her there. You can see. Yes, you can see that. Saket Devi. Yes. So they act as messengers, and they arrange the meetings of Priya and Priyatama by communicating through sankets, through signals. And Maharaj was telling me previously, smoke, mirrors, birds, all different things they had. And this is why this place is called Sanket. Sometimes Radhika would come here to meet Krishna, sometimes Krishna would come here to meet Radhika. In Govinda Leelamrita and Krishna Bhavanamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describe Radha and Krishna's Milan, their meeting, at midnight, during Naisha, midnight, and then their Vilasa, their loving pastimes going on until pre-dawn, Nishanta. These descriptions are full of ras. By Yogamaya's desire, the principal duties, Sri Veera Devi and Vrinda Devi, arrange the meeting of Sri Radha Krishna Yugala. Sri Vrinda Devi makes very sweet arrangements to awaken the divine couple at Nishanta, the end of the night just before dawn breaks. The Shuka and Sadi, the male and female parrots, awaken them with enchanting words. The Kokila helps to wake them up with her sweet kuhu, kuhu, and the peacock and peahen with their kika. Lalita, Vishaka, and the other Sakis perform arti to the divine couple, and at the same time our Gurudev explained that when arti is performed, the offering of the lamp, just like in the midday when Yashoda is offering, she's looking to see what marks, bruises, or scratches may be on Krishna's body. Similarly, at this time in Mangalarti, it's not just a formal, it's not just like a worship. The Manjaris, they are looking very closely at the lovers' bodies to see, are there any marks that we need to cover up? Some cosmetic or clothing. Is their clothing on properly, so not all ruffled and everything like that? So, when Kakati, the old she-monkey, calls out, Jatila, Sri Radha and Sri Krishna become embarrassed. This is because they don't really want to separate, of course. So Vrinda Devi is making all kinds of arrangements to encourage that they go, but this is the final one. When the she-monkey calls out the name of Jatila, oh, now they're going. Sri Radha and Sri Krishna become embarrassed and they make their separate ways to their respective residences where they fall asleep. delightful places. Other places worth visiting here are the Mandir of Sanket Bihariji, where the deities of Priya and Priyatatma are. There's a Rasa Mandala here, because so many places in Braj, Rasa Mandalas, and the place of a Jula for swing ceremonies. The Bhajan Kutir of Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami stands in front of the Rasa Mandala to its east. Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, whose disciples' appearance day Maharaj already mentioned, Srinivasacharya. We don't know that much about Gopala Bhatta because he instructed Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj, do not write about my activities there. So only his name is mentioned, but there's no explanations about what he did. But he's one of the 6 Goswamis, and he wrote the Sri Hari Bhakti Falas. Very important work, because Maharaj was explaining very clearly how, in order to approach Raganuga Bhakti, there has to be a very solid platform of Vaidhi Bhakti. So solid that just as when a married person has a lover, they are even more attentive towards their husband. So there's no question. So that a Raganuga Bhakti, he is the very emblem of perfection, and not always, but our gurus certainly, perfection of behaving according to the principles of Vaidhi. Just like Raghunath Das Babaji, Maharaj was telling us yesterday, he was so strict in the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti, so strict. So never taking this cheaply. So Sri Gopala Bhatta wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is essentially giving all the rules and principles and regulations for Vaidhi Bhakti. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also rested here.
Sanatana Goswami wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilas in a brief form, and Gopal Bhatta, he presented it to the public. But it's a work that we attribute to Sanatana Goswami. And then Gopal Bhatta carried it through, just like Jiva Goswami carried through so many of the books of Rupa Goswami. The same principle, but it was actually Sanatana Goswami's credit that really should be prominently there. But Gopal Bhatta was his like Shishya, just like Jiva Goswami was the Shishya of Rupa Goswami.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, Mahaprabhu, he rested here while traveling through the 12 forests of Braj. Just near the Rasa Mandala is the temple of Shivira Devi, Sanket Devi. Nearby are Vivala Devi, Vivala Kund, Ranga Mahal, and Shayam Mandir. Krishna Kund lies to the west of the village. On the bank of Krishna Kund is a Baitaka, sitting place of Sri Vallabhacharya. Some people continue their pilgrimage of Vraja-mandala by traveling from Sanket to Nandagaon. Of course, we have gone the other way. So, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Very nice. Thank you, Nrsimha Prabhu.
Thank you.
Sanket Bihari ki jai. Veera Devi ki jai. Purnamasi Devi ki jai. There's a deity here that our Gurudev has said is actually Purnamasi Devi. Sometimes they, not the principal Devi, the principal Devi is Sanket Bihari. And then we go near the place of Gopal Bhatta's kutir, and there's another temple there, and in that temple is Purnamasi Devi herself directly. And then just behind there is the Rasamandal place. So Sanket is loaded with potency and heavy wonderment of the spiritual pastimes between Radha and Krishna. Most exceptional place. So today we've covered all of Nandagaon very, very briefly. I have to apologize for the briefness of all the different places, but how else are we going to get around? It's like if we had 3 or 4 days, especially that Brahmara Geet. I wanted to save a little extra time there to inspire you, hopefully, to actually read that 47th chapter yourselves and appreciate the nectar that is within that Geet. very exceptional. So Nandagaon ki jai, Sanket Hari ki jai, Srimati Radharani Vrishabhanandini Vajeshwari ki jai, Golda Premanandi Hari Hari.
Namam Ishwaram Sachidanandalupam Lasat Kundalango Kure Rajamanam Yashodabiyolukaladevamanam Aram Vishamatyanta Topuchadolya Rudantam Mohornetrajuman Vidantam Karam Bojayogmena Sadanganetam Oshasakam Patriyakantakanta Sita Graiva Damodaram Bhaktivatam Iti Trishwalila Ananda Kunde Swagoshami Majanta Madhyapayantam Kadliya Shikadeshu Bhaktesi Tadvam Puna Prematastan Shakaritivanme Moram Deva Moksham Namosavadinda Chananyamne Anvareshadapiya Vinam Deva Purnasa Gopala Balam Sada Vimanasya Virasa Vinam Deva Purnasa Gopala Vitam Kulai Snekarantar Sadopya Voshamitam Bindaratadaramne Manasya Virasta Malam Lakshaname Namo Deva Namo Dhananta Vishnu Vasida Prabhu Jala Vimadam Kripa Drishti Vishyatu Vinamvatano Vihanisha Mamadhyam Vedakshi Krishna Tuveratma Jovada Ujaiva Yadva Vayamujito Vajiva Jotitauta Jata Prema Bhakti Sakame Prayacha Namo Shiva Ome Sita Mogareha Namaste Sudame Swadhyati Dame Swami Yogarayata Vishwasya Dame Namo Radhikaya Kariya Priyaya Namo Nagariyaya Vivaya Tudyam Namo Radhikaya Kariya Priyaya Namo Nagariyaya Vivaya Tudyam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Raja Damodara Raja Damodara Damodara Raja Damodara Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe
Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Ram Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo
Go
Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Jai Shishi Guru Garangagan Havika Girit Hari Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai.
Jai.
Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai. We never actually mentioned that, of course, Krishna is bound by Radharani during this month also. We're always celebrating Mother Yashoda binding Krishna, but we should always appreciate that Radhika also binds Krishna with garlands during this month. So Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gauda Premanandi Hari Hari. Tomorrow we will read from our Damodar Astakam, and we will immerse ourselves in the pastime there. So thank you all very much. Nandagaon Parikrama Ki Jai. Sanket Parikrama Ki Jai. Gauda Premanandi Hari Bo. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Yes.